Okay, for 9, 10, 11, and 12, we are still factoring. This is section 5.4, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We're still factoring. The first thing you always do is try to divide by something. So for this one, we can divide all three of those by 20. We can all divide, they all have variables, so we can all divide them by x. And if you're still freaking out as to why I know it's an x, well, go with your lowest exponent. They all have an x to give. But this one cannot give 3 because it's only got 1 over there. All right, so here we go. Pull out the 20x, so it doesn't go away, it goes out front. 20x cubed divided by 20x is x squared. Negative 220 divided by 20 is negative 11x. And 600 divided by 20, 60 divided by 2 is 30. And the x's cancel out. And now we factor what's remaining. Two things that multiply to the left are x and x. Two things that multiply to 30 but add to negative 11, negative 5 and negative 6. And you're done. And the only reason I could do it that quickly is there's no number up there. Remember, if there's a number up in front of x squared, we have to do it slightly differently. Do a little bit different. Number 10, same idea. Always check to see if you can divide something out. Well, there's no number up there, so you can't divide a number. And there's no letter back there, so you can't divide by a letter. So here we go. And there's no number here, so we can just think what multiplies to the right, but adds to the middle. So we'll put our y's on the left. Actually, in this case, it's y squared, because y squared times y squared is y to the fourth. Two things that multiply to 48. That would be, well, 6 times 8 is 48, but they don't add up to 13. 16 times 3. Yeah, that would be a negative 16 and a positive 3. Those will multiply to a negative 48, and they will add up to a negative 13. All right. Now we still have y squared, so you got to see if you can keep going. The y squared plus 3, well, if it's a perfect square, even if that one's a perfect square, we can't do it because of the positive right there. So, but this one, we can. Two things that multiply to the left will be y and y. Two things that multiply to negative 16 but add it to 0 will be negative 4 and positive 4. And we bring down our y squared plus 3. And that would be our answer. Now, again, some of you may put them in a different order. If you put this one first and then that one and that one, or if you put this one, then that one, then that one, who cares what order they're in, so long as you have this one and this one and this one all multiplied by each other. Number 11, now at this point I think you should try doing these on your own. If you haven't started doing them on your own yet, go for it. So pause the videos and come back. Otherwise, here we go. See if you can divide something out. I can divide a 2 out of those. All I can do is divide out a 2. Okay, so I'll put a 2 out front. I get 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. And since this one has a coefficient out front, it's got something in front of x squared, namely a 6, we have to kind of guess and check at this. So I want two things that multiply to the left, two things that multiply to the right, outside and inside adds up to the middle. So again, two things that multiply to the left, two things that multiply to 6 are 3 and 2, 6 and 1. I'm going to start off with 3 and 2. Okay. Two things that multiply to the right, 5 and 2, 10 and 1. I'm going to do 5 and 2. I think that's going to work out. 2 times 5. And it's a negative 10, so one of them has to be negative. I think that is the correct combination. And then the way we check is, remember, it's outside, inside. So the outside, 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Inside, 2 times 2 is 4. Those add up to negative 11, which, that's our middle term, so we did it right. And what I did there in red is just chicken scratch. You don't have to do it. And since there's no x squareds left, we're done. Number 12, last but not least. We can divide by 3. We actually can divide by 3m squared. As we discussed earlier, 3m squared divided by 3m squared is simply 1. So I'm going to put a 3m squared out front. Put a 1. Negative 48 divided by 3 is negative 16. M6 divided by m squared is m to the fourth. All right. Now, this may not look like a perfect square, but it is. Not a perfect square, a difference of squares. Because the square root of 1 is simply 1, so we'll put a 1 on the left. The square root of 16 is 4, so negative 4m squared, positive 4m squared. All right. Now, m squared times m squared gives me that m to the fourth. That's where that came from. And again, you can do your outside inside. 1 times 4m squared is 4m squared. Negative 4m times 1 is negative 4m squared, which those add up to 0. And the fun part is this one can't go any further because it's positive, but this one can. So we're going to do it again. So we got 3m squared. I'm going to put the ones on the left. Two things that multiply to 4 will be negative 2m and a positive 2m. And then we've got 1 plus 4m squared over there. So today is the lesson in factoring as far as humanly possible. Remember when I told you earlier in the year that if you don't learn to factor, you're going to fail the course? Well, I was serious. We're getting to the point where you have to be able to do this. Good luck.